We talked about tolerance, and so one thing about tolerance, okay, on your study sheets, you'll have a section where you say, stating the tolerance of a measurement, okay? There's the max, the min, the nominal, and the tolerance. Those are the four you always have to think of when we're thinking of tolerance. I need you to be able to extract them from the tolerance as a, like if I give it to you as a measurement, you're supposed to get a number for every single one of these. Okay, guys? That's number one. Think of tolerance as this part right here. Okay, this part right here is the tolerance. In terms of, it tells you, it is a number, but it tells us how big the difference is between the lowest admissible value and the highest admissible value. Okay, so that could be measured in millimeters, centimeters, decibels, you name it, the units will vary, okay? So that's one thing that you need to remember about tolerance. So I would strongly suggest you have that on your study sheet, okay? Then there are 4 different formats of tolerance that are listed right here, okay? I would like to offer this, that it really doesn't matter if you have all 4 written out. I would just say you should be able to recognize and be able to extract the 4, the max, the min, tolerance, and nominal, just by looking at them. Okay. All right, just by looking at them. So here you have the first 3 here. What I want you to remember is that the first number is always going to be our nominal. It's always going to be our target. And you might ask, well, why does it say nominal here and minimum there, maximum there? Like, why is the wording different? It's because there's still, it is true that this is the minimum, guys. Look up here on the screen, minimum, because you can't go any lower than that, right? But it is also our target. And this is our max. You can't go any higher than that, okay? That's why this is also our max, but it always is our target, no matter what, that big number up front. This one is different. This one will only have 2 numbers stacked, at which point you need to do some math to figure out the nominal. Most of the time, it's halfway between the max and the min. That's like kind of what we're aiming for. So you must calculate it. You actually should have this on your study sheet. When it's like this, you need to use that formula to figure out the nominal. That is absolutely crucial, okay? I'll go to the next page and maybe help you out with your study sheet here. So if you have your study sheet handy, I would say this is my heading that I would have for tolerance. I would say measurement. Sorry, I missed. I'm going to change this. Tolerance of a measurement. Okay. You can have this as your heading on your study sheet. Tolerance of a measurement. If you want to, you can have all 4 written out like this just so you recognize them. But the key word is tolerance. As soon as you see tolerance, you're in this category. You're not in precision and uncertainty, guys. You are under tolerance. Okay? So this is your nominal. Also nominal. Okay? I'll tell you that. It is the max up front, but it is also the nominal. And obviously, this one is like a giveaway, but these are all going to be numbers. Nominal, right? So all of them have the nominal just readily available. You just have to grab it, okay? Make sure you don't, you're not distracted now, guys. This is important. So that is just the nominal you plug in. When it's this format, when you just see 2 numbers, you have to do some math. You have to take the top number, add the bottom number, and divide it by 2. Right? If you don't have that, you're going to be in trouble, right? Like, you're not going to know what to do because you can't just grab one of them. You have to calculate it, okay? And so we'll practice a few here. Let's go to page 40. So I do want you to, with this information, rewrite it in these 4 different formats, but right now we're just going to practice extracting the information. So come with me to page 40. To a certain degree, this is common sense, okay? To a certain degree. There's a lot of common sense in here, but there's a little bit like you need to know what you're doing. So somebody tells you, this is an exam, you open this page and you see the word tolerance and you see this. Before you answer anything, I would like you to fill in these 4 things that tolerance always tells us. Always tells us what is the max, what is the min, what is the tolerance as a number, and what is the nominal. I tell you to start with the nominal, please. This big number up front, we're going to say that this is what we're targeting. 110 yards is what we're targeting. Then you get your max just by looking at it. So it's 110 plus 10. So it's 120 yards. The minimum is taking that big number up front and subtracting whatever is next to the minus. It's not always going to be 0, guys. So it's going to be minus 0 in this case. So it's 110 minus 0. That's 110 yards. Okay? And how do you find tolerance? Mathematically, max minus min. That's right. So we just basically subtract these two. 120 minus 110. So that's 10 yards is my tolerance. Once you have these 4, I mean, guys, it doesn't get any easier than that. Once you have these 4, if you're able to do that, you're in good shape. So let's rewrite it in these formats using that information we've just gathered. So what if you want it in this format, max min? Well, guess what? You grab that number, 120. Make sure you put units next to it, and the minimum, the lowest, is 110. Voila, you have it done, okay? That is the format that they want it in. What about this one? It calls for what up front? The minimum. It's 110, so you go 110 yards. Minus 0 yards. They want units everywhere. Plus, what does it call for at the top? Tolerance, right? Which is 10 yards. That one is done. If the problem says, hey, write it in this format, grab the max. The max is 120. Plus 0 yards. That's what the top calls for. Minus whatever the tolerance is, which we know is 10. Now you have that format. And this last one calls for nominal. What is our nominal? Is 110. Yes, you see 110 up here again as min, right? It does happen. That is normal. Take the nominal, 110 yards, plus or minus half of the tolerance. The tolerance is 10 yards. Okay? And so there you have written them in all formats, and it all started by you being able to extract these 4 pieces, right, from that one. Start with your nominal. It's always the big number up front. Sometimes I basically just ask you, and even the province is like, hey, look at this. What's the nominal? And some students go 10, 0, 110. It's like bingo almost. Like, no, you should know it's the big number up front. That is our target. Okay. All right. What about all of these are telling us what? Write this down. Like there's, if you think about it in these terms, it tells us that the maximum allowed distance for the soccer field, like how long it is what? 120 yards. It tells us that the lowest is 110 yards, like the shortest the field is able to be is 110. And what's the distance in between? Like, what's my tolerance here? We figured out that it is 10 yards, right? There's a tolerance of 10 yards. You could be off by 10 yards, but no less than 110, no more than 120. But there could be anything in between is acceptable. Okay? What are we aiming for? We're aiming for 110. This is also nominal in this case. So ideally, we would want all soccer fields to be 110. But we do allow for soccer field to be longer, up to 120. After that, it would not be acceptable. They wouldn't accept that for a tournament, let's say. Okay? I don't know if that's true, guys. I just made this up. Like, I don't know. I bet you that's too much. 10 yards longer, that's, in my opinion, that's probably not going to be acceptable. But that's that. Where else would you want that? Where else would you want something like this? I'm thinking an airport landing strip, right? You wouldn't want it to be any shorter. You can have it a bit longer, but you don't want the landing strip to be shorter than the absolute minimum. So, let's see here, guys. If I asked you which of the following soccer fields would be considered an official field. So you have your max, which is 120. You have your min, which is 110. Anything in between is what we call good, acceptable. If it's too long, it's bad. If it's too short, it is also considered bad. Would 109 be considered an official field? It's 109, like it's shorter than 110. 110, would that be okay? Yes, it would be. 120, would that be okay? Yes, because 120 is part of our expectations here. It meets it. 121, it would not meet, because then you're past the max, right? So these are a few things, a few items that you can expect, okay, to know as well, like which one of these would pass the quality test. So what I would like you to do, okay, I want you to go to page 41 and 42. For now, all I want you to do is look at the tolerance and fill in these four. Can you do that? Look at the tolerance, fill in these four for all the examples you're seeing. Once you've done that for 41 and 42, I want you to use this information and rewrite it in the following formats, okay? Can you do that right now? Give it a try. Gather your information here, then use it to rewrite it in the following four different formats. Before you go to the bathroom, you do at least one page, okay? So the first one, I'll just show you the key for that one. Okay. The first one, I grab my nominal. I grab this first number here, and I immediately said that that's my nominal. I just have to go grab it. Then I proceed to figure out the maximum and minimum, right? So to get the max, you just add whatever top number is there. And to get the minimum, I know it's irrelevant to subtract 0. I know that, but this won't always be 0. So just go ahead and go plus, minus to get your max and min. And then last but not least, you get your tolerance, right? The tolerance is you just subtract these two answers, then you get your tolerance. Can I just say something about this exercise you just did? Most of the time, if not, like I would say 90% of the time, they will not make you figure this out. They will just go straight to, this is a tolerance stated in, this format right here. Like they want you to go from here to here. And I would say, don't go straight to there, because you might actually not know what to put in there, like what number goes where. So have these four first, write these, figure them out, do them somewhere on the side, and then you go ahead and actually write it in this format. Because then you just pick and choose, right? A nominal goes first, plus or minus half, right? There's the half, and then whatever the tolerance is. We figured out that it's 0.15, right?
Neela Chief, head back to room 6 immediately, please. Neela Chief, head to class.
Okay? 1 second. So then it's like that. So this is just an exercise to get you through the process of going from the tolerance that they gave you, extract the information, then you spread out into whichever one they ask for. They've never asked for all four. They've never done that. They only ask for one of them. So that's most likely what you can expect, okay? So the one I wanted to show you, I wanted to do that with you so you can't say I didn't show you this and I didn't warn you about it, is this one here on 41, bottom of 41, this one right here. And I'm giving you a big hint here that you have to use that to get the nominal. So before you do that one, you should recognize that when it's just two numbers, that this is your max, this is your min, okay? There is no nominal stated. So you got to go 65 plus 55, divide that by 2. Make sure you add before you divide. And so that's 120 divided by 2, so that's 60 decibels. That is what goes under the nominal. So you had to calculate it. You couldn't just get it from here. They will sometimes say that it is halfway between. That's exactly what they mean. They want you to do this calculation. The max is 65. The min is 55. The tolerance is when you subtract them, that's just 10. Okay? And so let's say the question just asks you to write this in this format right here. I'm just going to do the 1 for now. So that's 60 plus or minus half of tolerance. Okay, so that's your tolerance in that format. So let's say they asked you to state it in this format. No problem. You know what the minimum is? 55. It's plus the tolerance, right? You just make it look like this. Tolerance is 10 minus 0 decibels. You can't get any lower than that, right? So you just basically follow this as your recipe. Please have these 4 on your study sheet. Otherwise, you won't always know what to do, okay? I'll do this one just because I know what's going to happen. January is going to be here in no time. And you'll be like, you never showed us one where there is no 0. Yes, let me finish this, okay? Remind me. So the 16, when there's 3 numbers, there's the 16 centimeters. That's my nominal. Okay? To get the maximum is 16 plus 4, that's 20. To get the minimum is 16 minus 1, that's 15. To get the tolerance, you subtract these two, right? 20 minus 15, that's 5 centimeters. Let's pretend like I didn't ask you for it. I just asked you to go straight to this format, let's say. First do that, then move out to this one. So what's the max? It's 20. And the minimum is 15. And you're done, right? Same with this one. What's the minimum? It's 15 minus 0 plus whatever the tolerance is, which I found that is 5 centimeters. This format, what's the max? It's 20. You can't go any higher, but you can go 5 centimeters down because tolerance is 5. Last but not least, nominal. I figured out that it's 16 plus or minus half, whatever the tolerance is, 5 centimeters. One more thing I want to add about this one in particular. Sometimes students say, isn't this uncertainty? Isn't this like a measurement plus or minus uncertainty? We won't make you guess. There will be something in the question talking about tolerance. Then you know you're in the tolerance camp. And besides, uncertainty never has the half in front of it. That is a dead giveaway that this is tolerance, okay? So you know how to deal with that. Let's talk about a few examples here on 44. Then we'll do the AC after this, I promise. Okay. When they ask you, give me an example, or why would tolerance be important in this case? Can you write this down? That this is one classic. Why is tolerance important? Or tell me how tolerance is applicable in this particular situation. Go to 44 for this one. So let's say we're talking about medication, like why should a nurse be very careful? Yeah, go ahead. About the medication. You should use words like this. What you can either say if it's too low, if the dosage is too low, you would make it ineffective. And use your own words. You can say it wouldn't really give the effects that you would want, right? It wouldn't really do what it's supposed to do. On the other hand, if it's too high, right, you could cause death or serious side effects, serious injury, right? So when it comes to medication, I would talk about what happens if it's too low, what happens when it's too high, okay? Entrance door. If it's too small, like so you have the door to your house, like, hey, how can you apply tolerance? Talk about if it's too small, it would cause drafts, right? Air would come in, cold air from the outside in the winter, warm air would escape, right? If it's too large, right, it would make it impossible to close the door. So you kind of like talk about the extremes. Both of them would not be acceptable, right? Like being outside of your tolerance. T-shirt, too loose, would make it uncomfortable. If it's way too tight, you probably can't even get into it, right? So you can talk about that. A battery. What would you talk about a battery? If the voltage is too low, it will not power the item, right? So if it's too low, it's just not going to do what it's supposed to do. The light won't come on, your flashlight won't work, your phone won't turn on, right? If it's too high, what happens if the voltage is too high? Overheats or fries your equipment or whatever, right? If it's too high, it will damage the item. So in this case, I'm going generic, but it could be a flashlight, could be talking about a phone. What about fridge? If the temperature is too low in your fridge, what happens to the items? Has it happened to you before when you put stuff way in the back, right? Oh my goodness, my lettuce is frozen, right? Or whatever, tomatoes or whatever, now you can't use it. So if it's too low, items will freeze, that's not good. If it's too warm in there, you will spoil your items, right? So that's also not good. So you can talk about that. Speed limit. If you're going too slow, you're also becoming a hazard, right? If you're going 50 on 100, did you know you can get pulled over for going too slow? You can actually, like if you're driving like one of those little mopeds that can only go 50 on 100, cops can't pull you over. You're too slow. You're a hazard now. If you're too fast, now you're a hazard as well. You're going to get pulled over for speeding, right? So there's tolerance pretty much anywhere you go, okay? All right. We'll stop it